Hello! It is late September and Natalie, Joey, and I are in Yellowstone National Park for what's planned to be an 8-day adventure. Starting off right away with a ford of the mighty Snake River, we're going to head up Big Game Ridge, cross Fox Creek, traverse to Ocean Plateau, head north along the Thoroughfare, cut west along Yellowstone Lake, go to Heart Lake, and scale Mount Sheridan before coming out the Heart Lake Geyser Basin. We're already hitting the trail. Natalie's already across. First one through the snake. There's Joey, starting off. After our ford of the Snake River, we're covering about 9 miles today to the appropriately named 9 Mile Meadow campsite. I've heard it's one of the best in this area. I have not been. Beautiful fall colors for us. Patch of yellow aspens and the golden grass on a clear blue day. Good to be in Yellowstone. Thermal runoff from the Snake River Hot Springs. Fair bit of mud on the trail from recent heavy rains. Not slowing down my partners though, one of whom is barefoot and one of whom is in sandals. Hiking so far has been a mixture of woods and meadows. Just popped out to some great views. Steaming. The trail has had us in the forest for a spell, away from the snake. We can see the river back in front of us, closing in on camp for the evening. A wolf pack walked through here pretty recently. We are nearly at camp. Looks like we'll be sharing tonight. Home sweet home. Campsite 8C2, 9 Mile Meadows, perched right on the edge. I've been stoked for this site because both Joey and my buddy Mike Wanders, who will be joining us next week in Beckler, had high praise. I am not disappointed. Snake River, well worth hiking 9 miles into. The Snake River begins its journey here in Yellowstone on the flank of Ocean Plateau, before flowing nearly 1,100 miles to join the Columbia River in Washington. Tent is pitched. The sounds of the Snake River pleasing to lull me to sleep later on. Day 1 has been a great start to our 8 days in the Yellowstone backcountry. Weather could not have been more cooperative. The hiking was enjoyable, a bit muddy at times, but nothing too bad. Crossing off the Snake is an invigorating way to kick the trip off, and a campsite like 9 Mile Meadows is the cherry on top. Camp is set up, we're getting dinner in us and settling in, because we expect tomorrow to be the most challenging day of the trip. That'll be it for day 1. Good night. Good morning. Made to day 2 along the South Boundary. Restful night last night, chilly, low dropped a little below freezing this morning. There were a few elk bugles throughout the night. Fog has rolled in and the sun is trying to come up as well. Today is likely to be our most challenging day of the trip. We're going to climb up to the top of Big Game Ridge. Looking forward to that. I'm going to get camp packed up and it'll be time to hit the trail. We watched a big moose walk into that group of trees right there, and he pretty much disappeared. May have lain down or may have walked out, snuck away on us. The frost is hanging on only below the shadows of the trees. The rest the sun is clearing out. Well, if we weren't awake earlier, we sure are now. Thanks to this ice cold crossing of Wolverine Creek. Boy, it's chilly in here. Our climb up has begun. Starting to earn some beautiful views. And it gets warm quickly with that sun going uphill with the heavy pack on. Harebell Patrol Cabin. My first time to this particular backcountry cabin. All of today is new ground for me. In fact, all of today is new ground for everyone in our party, which is exciting. We'll all three be exploring Big Game Ridge together. Such vibrant fall colors underneath the crystal blue sky. Bears can slip in mud too. We've been climbing up, but plenty more climbing ahead of us. It does seem like we are going to find ourselves at or near the top of that big gamey ridge. Our plans today are a bit up in the air. We're permitted for 6M7 inside the park, but a lot of our trail today, including this stretch here, is outside the park on National Forest land, so in all likelihood we may end up pulling up early in the National Forest, making our biggest day a little smaller. And it was a good sign to see this campsite here, although it's too early for us to stop. We're looking farther on. Definitely a better sign than no campsites at all. Far ridge to the south is our first view of the Tetons, Grand Teton National Park. The trail just broke back into Yellowstone National Park for a little bit, and this view of the Grand Tetons must be the best from Yellowstone. Sheridan's great, we'll enjoy that later on. It is a little farther away. This forest on the top of the ridge is a ghost forest of whitebark pines. Whitebark pine have been hit with a trifecta of combatants, of foreign blister rust, mountain pine beetle, and warming temperatures to reduce them to a fraction of their former range. A few small ones up here, in amongst the dead, maybe they can regrow. This is the high point of our day, and the high point of our trek for about a week until we get up Sheridan, just a little below 10,000 feet, along Big Game Ridge. Clear view of the Tetons today. Stunning views all around up here. our white bark pines, a few decent sized ones. You love to see it. They're holding on. Far, far out in that gap is Yellowstone Lake. What a view. The back range past Chicken Ridge are the Absarokas. We're heading to the base of those. And after the base of the Absarokas, we'll be coming all the way back across to Heart Lake and the top of Mount Sheridan, back behind Mount Hancock. Home sweet home. We found a little pool of water down below and an old camping spot here. Nice copse of white bark pine trees to protect me and my cowboy camp for the night. The sun is set. Shadows have grown long. We're going to call this the end of day 2. Good night. Good morning. Made to day 3 of our backpacking adventure in Yellowstone. Made to camp a little late last night, right around sunset, but we settled in to a calm, relaxing evening. The stars were out so plentifully, and it was a great night to cowboy camp as things were pretty dry up here around 9,500 feet. We've got another good, healthy day today. We did pull up a couple miles short yesterday. Worked out really well for us. But today we're going to have to make that back up to get all the way down into the thoroughfare, crossing to Ocean Plateau, take campsite 6 wide 2. We're going to get camp packed up and be time to hit the trail. Another crystal blue day today. Heading down from Big Game Ridge towards 2 Ocean Plateau. Popped out of the trees into wide open views of Fox Park. And a little bit of wind as well. We're off Big Game Ridge. A beaver's been busy on this little tributary. The boundary line. We're back into Yellowstone. Fox Creek Patrol Cabin. We've broken back into familiar territory for me. I came through here on my first ever Yellowstone trip to the Thoroughfare and out to Heart Lake. And Joey just spotted a bear off in the woods just a little ways up from the cabin here, but ran away pretty quickly. Didn't get to see it too close. Could be an old scratch tree. Crossing with style. Flowing right out of Mariposa Lake. Mariposa Lake. Deep blue, ringed by golden meadows, themselves surrounded by dark green forests. A remote, high elevation body of water. I am at or around the Continental Divide on 2 Ocean Plateau. Off to the left, water is flowing to the Atlantic Ocean, and off to the right, water is flowing to the Pacific Ocean. to Ocean Plateau, covered in the colors of fall. Today's a long day, still a bit more mileage to go, but the first view into the thoroughfare of the trip reawakens that energy, gives a little bit of wind to finish things off. Last crossing of Lynx Creek coming down the plateau as shadows lengthen. Now that's a mushroom and a half right there. First ever night crossing of the Yellowstone River. Oh, yeah. Home sweet home. 6Y2, we made it. Do not recommend night hiking in the thoroughfare. Nope. This is gonna be the end of day 3. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 4 in Yellowstone. Got to rest up after a long day last night, and it was the coldest night of our trip. Second of 3 nights below freezing, about 30 degrees. Nice frost this morning. Water in our bottles was frozen. The sun is up now and it's starting to warm us up. Figure we're in for another warm afternoon. There have been a couple clouds that have moved in. Basically the first bank of clouds we've seen since the beginning of the trip. Hopefully that does not portray a shift in the weather for us, because we like it clear and sunny. Hope it stays that way for the rest of our time. We're finally getting out of our pretty difficult days on the trip. We got around 12 miles today, but almost completely flat, and a big draw is reaching the Thorofare Ranger Station, the furthest dwelling from a road in the contiguous United States. We're gonna get camp packed up and be time to hit the trail. We didn't get to see the Yellowstone River last night because it was dark, which again is highly not recommended. It was not how we had planned things, not how we had wanted them. It was just the way it turned out. We felt it last night, and now we can see it today in all its glory, glistening in the sun. The mighty Yellowstone. Even before we get to Thoroughfare Creek, we've got a frozen water crossing this morning. I think that's gonna get us woken up real good if we weren't beforehand.
Oh yeah.
We've got dual crossers right now.
You can almost ice skate on this.
Wow.
It was cold last night. You don't gotta take my word for it. Making our way across Thorofare Creek. Nice little wet foot crossing for us here. We did just see our first person since day 1. It was a ranger, and I had remembered the walk between Thoroughfare Creek and 6Y2 as a pretty horrific willow bushwhack, and it was very smooth for us today, so I asked her, and she said they did a lot of brushing work last year. So big shout out to the trail crew clearing out that nasty willow walk for us. We're gonna get across Thoroughfare Creek, dry out, and then head on to the ranger station. Adios, Thoroughfare Creek. Until we meet again. There's a ranger at the Thoroughfare station today. He's checking the records. About to lay down the law. Concluding my 3rd visit to the Thoroughfare Ranger Station. The record keeper found my entry from last year and pointed out that, in a complete coincidence, it is exactly 1 year to the day from my prior visit. It is also the last time that the book was signed for the entirety of last year. Joey's signing after me now. We'll see if he gets the last signing of this year. Someone will have to report back and let us know in 2026. to Ocean Plateau. Got some white clouds in the sky today. They're continuing to hold on from this morning, but a lot of blue patches, and they don't look too threatening so far. Back hiking along the Yellowstone River. The base of the Absaroka seems so far away back on Big Game Ridge. Big wolf print. Mountain Creek. It was up this drainage on Eagle Peak where the young hiker went missing around this time last year. Closing in on home for the night in the Thoroughfare. Home sweet home. Campsite 6C3, turret view with a view of the turret. Big meadow here as well. Time to get set up. Camp set up. Seems pretty dry in here, so I'm going with a cowboy camp again tonight. Got a healthy lodge pole for some additional shelter. That should do it for me. Day 4 in the Yellowstone backcountry has been another great day. It's always a treat to get to visit the Thorofare Ranger Station. It is an extra treat to see that I was the last person to have signed it last year. The scenery through the thoroughfare is beautiful. Big meadows surrounded by 2 Ocean Plateau and the Absarokas. And yet another pretty campsite to rest our head at. The weather has continued to hold on for us. We're hopeful for that to continue despite the few clouds today. Camp set up, we're getting dinner in, and as long as nothing crazy happens, that'll be the end of day 4. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 5, over halfway through our backpacking trip here in Yellowstone. Another calm, restful night last night. Little frosty this morning, but it was a new low, 29 degrees. Once again, the stars are just magnificent. We've got another about 12-mile day today, finishing up north through the thoroughfare, and then we'll be cutting west across the southeast and south arms of Yellowstone Lake. We'll end at 5L2, which is where I saw a wolf last year. I was cowboy camped off the south arm, enjoying the sunset over the lake. And looked up about 30 feet away. There was a wolf looking at me. I looked at him. He looked at me. He let out a killer howl and then just loped off into the night. One of the coolest experiences of my life. So not expecting to see another wolf, but it will be nice to revisit those cool memories. Gonna get camp packed up, get some breakfast, and be time to hit the trail. Making our way towards the Yellowstone River for another crossing. I'm excited that this one's going to be in the daytime. Here we go. Into the Yellowstone. Oh, it's cold. Oh boy, it's cold. This is breaking into new ground for me. I've never traversed this ford, nor gone along the southeast arm of Yellowstone Lake. So I'm excited to see some new territory today. I just saw Joey cross the river, and it's gonna get pretty deep here pretty soon. It's already quite cold on me. Big shout out to my mom and my dad and my brother back in North Carolina. Love you guys. Thank you for the support. Ooh, 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 it's cold. Oh, it's cold. It's getting deeper. Ooh, man, it's cold. And it's this kind of thing that makes you feel alive. Crossing the Yellowstone River up to almost the waist area here. Oh man, let's get my shorts wet. Oh goodness. But I'm almost there. I can see the edge. Woo-hoo-hoo. But it's cold. It's not getting any shallower. Oh no. Oh, recovered. This is what it's all about right here. Oh. Oh. It got real deep right there, right at the end, right when I thought I was about to come out of it. Got the shorts a little wet, right up to the waist here. That's the Yellowstone River. It's nice to go across in the daytime. I've been over to Ocean Plateau multiple times. Now I'm going around it. The trail is eventually going to come past the tip to Ocean near Yellowstone Lake. I had just come up to a point in the trail and was telling Joey it smelled like skunk. A little bit further on we found the reason why. Unfortunately, this skunk was deceased, but something got a meal. That's the circle of life. There's a beaver dam right through the trees on the creek. This may have been the inhabitant.
This could have been a lightning strike.
Passing through a very recent burn here. Small one. Still smells like charcoal. The ground is still black. Dodged the bullet, didn't come through on us. Geese are big birds in their own right. And there's 2 swan out on that sandbar that are towering over them, like 5 times the size of the geese. My first visit to the southeast arm of Yellowstone Lake. Crystal blue day today. Another perfect set of weather for us. Cannot have asked for any better in that regard so far. A log like this would be the work of bears. They tear open the decomposing wood to get at the insects inside. Arrived at the Trail Creek Patrol Cabin, which is more of a whole compound. 2 big buildings, 3 picnic tables, big fire pit area. The rangers here are living the life. A decent little view from the front porch as well. The southeast arm of Yellowstone Lake. There is a handy looking beaver dam here across Chipmunk Creek. I'm going to give this a go. Big ups to that beaver. He made a strong dam. My feet got a little wet coming across, but it held up for me. An impressive feat from the beaver. First look at Peel Island on the south arm, the finger of the south arm of Yellowstone Lake. I'm nearly at the intersection that will take me from unfamiliar terrain into familiar. Be linking up with the trail off to Ocean Plateau. And that's how I came out of this area last year. Home sweet home. 5L2 Monument Camp. It is right on the edge of that big meadow where I was cowboy camped last year and saw that wolf. Fingers crossed. Nice to have this sunlight warming us up when we make it to camp for the day. Camp's all set up, trying to recreate that cowboy camp wolf magic. Day 5 has been another fun day in Yellowstone. We started off by finishing our stretch of the thoroughfare, crossed the Yellowstone River during the daytime, and then broke into new ground for me along the southeast arm of Yellowstone Lake. We did see 4 people today, the only non-rangers we've seen since day 1, and here at camp we've already heard a lot of elk bugles, so it might be a chance for wildlife tonight. Camp set up, we're getting dinner in us and settling in. That'll be the end of day 5. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 6 in Yellowstone backcountry. Fairly warm night last night, probably due to the cloud cover that moved in, kept it to around 31 degrees. It was our most rambunctious elk bugling night of the trip. They were going all night long from different directions around us. Today, we have another fairly rowdy day, about 13 miles, but it's going to take us to Heart Lake. And when we walk across that north shore of the pebble beach of Heart Lake, with Mount Sheridan looming over us and Rusty Geyser throwing up steam in the background, that is one of my favorite places in the entire world, and I look forward to hitting that near the latter part of today's hike. I'm gonna finish packing up camp, and it'll be time to hit the trail. All those dark spots on Yellowstone Lake are birds, and in the center is Peel Island with the Peel Ranger Station. The clouds are persisting well into the morning today. Any change in the weather patterns can be a bit touchy this time of year. Heading into October, always a fear of any kind of inclement wintry weather coming in. But we're not expecting it. However, we're 6 days in, and the forecast from the beginning of the trip can be changed a lot in that period of time, leaving the now far off Absarokas behind. We'll get another view of them from Sheridan. We're heading through this saddle between Channel Mountain on the right and Overlook Mountain on the left. That'll drop us down to Outlet Lake, then Outlet Creek, and then Heart Lake, our destination on the day. Outlet Lake. The colors of fall abound everywhere we go. Dead ahead, our first big view of Mount Sheridan. Plan is to go up there tomorrow. Lodgepole pines are often the first tree to come back after a fire because they have what are called serotinous cones, where their cone is coated in a thick resin that only opens in temperatures well above 100 degrees. So the fire burns through, clears off the big mature trees, opens up those cones, and the seedlings, which are pretty shade intolerant species, now have an open canopy to grow into. Sheridan's growing closer, and Heart Lake's right at its base. It's rickety. Oh boy, it's rickety. Off the left base of Mount Sheridan, Heart Lake's starting to glisten. Reach the north shore of Heart Lake, shining in the sunlight, the waves gently lapping, a mostly cloudy sky, and Mount Sheridan looming. Rusty Geyser throwing up a little steam. This is the place to be. This is a new bridge since the last time I was here, over Witch Creek, which is a warm one, fed by the hot springs and the Heart Lake Geyser Basin. A little bit of steam rising from the rustic geyser basin. Home sweet home. 8H4, west shore on Heart Lake. We'll be here for 2 nights. Time to get settled in. Heart Lake is only accessible to hikers for about 4 months each year. Bear management regulations keep it closed until July 1st, and winter snows typically shut down road access in November. Tent is pitched, a sheltered, forested area for us to camp in. Day 6 of our backpack in Yellowstone has brought me back to one of my favorite places, Heart Lake. The hike out here was familiar, having come this way last year. In the cloudy day, the first of our trip helped keep the hot sun off during the hike. We spent some time enjoying the serenity on the pebble beach of Heart Lake, camp set up, we're getting dinner in us, and settling in, because we're gonna need the rest to ascend to Mount Sheridan tomorrow. Falling asleep to the sound of the bugling elk, that'll be the end of day 6. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 7, the penultimate day of our adventure in Yellowstone. Mostly calm night last night. The storm, fortunately for us at this side of the lake, was more bark than bite, and it was our warmest night of the trip by far, about 42 degrees. Today is an exciting day. We're going to go all the way up to the top of Mount Sheridan, over 3,000 vertical feet of climbing, to look out over everything we've been traversing for the past week. We'll see Big Game Ridge. We'll see 2 Ocean Plateau. We'll see the Thoroughfare, the Absarokas, Yellowstone Lake, Heart Lake. We'll see out to the Tetons and the Gallatin Range. All of the entire world is going to be laid out beneath us. All we got to do is climb to the top and hope that this fog clears, because if it's in the way, we're not going to see much of anything. Once the sun comes out, it should move out, and then we're going to move out as well, get up to Sheridan. Gonna eat some breakfast, hang out for a little bit this morning, and it'll be time to hit the trail. Mount Sheridan Trail, 3,000 feet up, no water. Way up there, the clouds are clearing. The Absarokas have risen soundly into view. The far ridge behind Heart Lake. Massive Yellowstone Lake. The many moods of Heart Lake. Last night whipped into a frenzy by the incoming storm. This morning shrouded in the eerie fog. This afternoon calm, glassy, and reflective. Making progress. First look at the backside of the Red Mountains. The wind is picking up a little bit on this ridge. Fire tower in sight. It is well worth the week's work for this wonder. Top of Mount Sheridan. Over 10,000 feet. From the peak of Sheridan, we can see the entire route that we spent the past 7 days and 80 miles traversing. We've got the Snake River, Big Game Ridge. Back behind it is Ocean Plateau. Down low is the Thoroughfare, and then the far spine of the Absarokas. Came across to the southeast and south arms of Yellowstone Lake. We came through between Channel Mountain and Overlook Mountain. We're on the north shore of Heart Lake, all the way up here to Mount Sheridan. Off to the north is Yellowstone Lake and the West Thumb. The northwest is the Gallatin Range, and off to the west is Shoshone Lake. The large mound past the crest of the Red Mountains is Pitchstone Plateau, and off the side of Pitchstone is Beckler, and all the way down to the left, kind of hidden in the clouds, are the peaks of the Tetons. A week in the Yellowstone backcountry, Natalie. How's your experience been out in Yellowstone?
The longest backpacking trip I've ever done. And a lot of miles and a lot of ground covered. And a lot of things seen and heard and smelled. And now, like, standing up on the mountain and overlooking it all. Seeing the people that it attracts and seeing how much they love it as well is a powerful thing.
Patch of trees, West Shore campsite. Another ghost forest of whitebark pine. A partially alive, mixed whitebark pine forest. Pretty freshly dug, pretty large burrow. Home sweet home. Back to 8H4. West Shore. It's dinner time. Day 7 of our backpack in Yellowstone has been a cherry on top of this awesome trip. The view from Mount Sheridan is unrivaled. To see almost everything that we spent the past 7 days hiking over, as well as a big chunk of the rest of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, it's hard to beat the view from Mount Sheridan. On top of that great hike, our morning and our evening consisted of relaxing on the pebble beach of Heart Lake. We're getting dinner in us, and we're settling in for the final night of this trip. That'll be the end of day 7. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 8. The final day of our backpacking adventure in Yellowstone. A little bit of rain yesterday evening and this morning, but nothing too bad. Another warm night for us here at Heart Lake. We have one last treat ahead of us, and that's hiking out through the Heart Lake Geyser Basin. That'll be the most thermal activity we've seen at any point on this trip. We saved it for the last day as we head out to the Heart Lake Trailhead. It's always tough to leave Heart Lake behind, especially at the end of a trip. We're gonna get camp packed up, hopefully dodge the rain, and there'll be time to hit the trail. Well, if the worst weather we've got over 8 days is the cold rain on the hike out, you gotta take that in late September. The rustic geyser area. The Heart Lake Patrol Cabin. No one's home this late in the season. What's up, Natalie? If you're uncomfortable in Yellowstone, they have this helpful sign that lets you know you may choose to hike elsewhere. Witch Creek, picking up some heat flowing through the Heart Lake Geyser Basin. Picture perfect. Adios, Heart Lake. Thank you for the hospitality. "8 days and 90 miles, done and dusted." This time in the Yellowstone backcountry was full of adventure, from the sunny climb up Big Game Ridge, to the nighttime ford of Yellowstone River, to the new ground for me along the southeast arm, to the moody weather of Heart Lake, and the omnipresent elk bugling throughout to add that sound of wilderness to the sight and the feel of wilderness. This park has a way of making one feel small and insignificant, but big and accomplished all at the same time. Good times with good friends. We're gonna send Nataly off to officiate a wedding, and Joey and I are gonna link up with Jason of One Joe Adventures and Mike of Mike Wanders to head into Beckler for a 7-day backpacking trip. Until then, thanks for tuning into Lane's World. Goodbye. On this trip, we're using the Yellowstone South map by Beartooth Publishing. Let's take a look at the map route for this adventure. Starting at the south entrance, we traveled about 9 miles on day 1 to get to campsite 8C2 at 9 Mile Meadow. On day 2, we continued to the other side of the map, where we eventually popped outside the park and set up camp after about a 12-mile day. On day 3, we came back into Yellowstone, across to Ocean Plateau, down into the Thoroughfare, campsite 6Y2, South Yellowstone River, for a day of about 15 miles. We then cut over to the Thorofare Ranger Station, and followed up along Yellowstone River to get to our campsite for the night, 6C3 at Turret View. After about 12 miles, continuing up through the thoroughfare and then breaking into my new ground across the southeast arm of Yellowstone Lake and the south arm to campsite 5L2 Monument Camp. And that was after another approximately 12-mile day. From 5L2, we cut across to Heart Lake, around the north shore to the other side of the map. Picking back up on the other side of the map, we finished off our 13-mile day at 8H4 West Shore. On day 7, we scaled all the way up to Mount Sheridan and back down, about an 8-mile round trip. And our final day, day 8, finished up to the Heart Lake Geyser Basin, out to Heart Lake, another approximately 8 miles, for a trip total of just under 90 miles.